Okay, we've called to order the regular meeting of the Marin Wildfire Prevention Authority Operations Committee. Martina, please call the roll to ensure that we have a quorum of the committee present.
Certainly, sir. Thank you. Beginning with Bolinas Fire District, do we have Chief Krakauer?
Yes.
For Mill Valley, do we have Todd Cusimano? For the city of San Rafael, do we have John Stefanski?
Abe Roman's
Oh,
representing City of
apologize.
Centerville.
We actually have, for the record, we have Chief Abe Roman representing us this morning for the city of San Rafael. Thank you, sir. For the city of Larkspur, do we have Dan Schwartz? For the county of Marin, do we have Chief Marcucci?
Present.
Thank you, sir. For Inverness, do we have David Briggs?
Here.
For Kent Wildfire, do we have Chief Pomey? For Marinwood, do we have Eric Drakeson?
Here.
For Muir Beach, do we have Chief Gove? And standing in for Novato this morning, we have, as an alternate to Chief Peters, do we have Sarah Laverton?
Here.
For Sleepy Hollow Fire, we will not be having Chief Mahoney. For Southern Marin Fire, do we have Chief Tubbs?
He's on that.
Chief Tubbs is not with us this morning. And for Stinson Beach Fire, we do have Chief Perry. At this time, I would like to inform the committee that Chief Perry will be joining us remotely in accordance with the Brown Act. He had an unexpected childcare obligation, which does qualify as just cause under the provision of the Act. Chief Perry, for the record, are there any individuals over the age of 18 with you, sir?
No.
Okay, and then with that confirmation, and unless there are any objections from the committee, we can proceed with Chief Perry participating remotely. And we will go ahead and count him for the attendance record. For the town of Corte Madera, do we have Adam Wolf? We do not. And then joining us remotely, standing in for Heather Abrams, do we have Kristen Arnold?
Here.
For the town of Ross, do we have Krista Johnson?
Yes, you do, in person.
Thank you, Krista. And for the town of San Anselmo, do we have Dave Donnery?
Here.
Perfect. And we do have a quorum, Chief, and we can proceed.
Okay, thank you. Moving along in the agenda, do committee members or staff have any adjustments to the agenda? Seeing none. Open time for public expression. The public is welcome to address the Operations Committee at this time on matters not on the agenda that are within the jurisdiction of the committee. Please be advised that pursuant to the Government Code Section 54954.2, the committee is not permitted to discuss or take action on any matter not on the agenda. Comments may be no longer than 2 minutes and should be respectful to the community. Please silence your cell phones during the meeting and mute your microphone when not speaking. Martina, is there anyone who wishes to deliver a comment?
Sir, I see no hands at this time.
Okay, thank you. Moving along, Planning and Program Managers Report. Marin Wildfire Planning and Program Manager Ann Krelock will provide the staff report on this item.
Great, thank you. And I'll just share my screen. I just have a couple of slides here. I thought I'd list off a few of the things we've been up to since last we chatted back in December. In case you missed it, on January 13th, Marin Wildfire staff worked with Ecologically Sound Practices Partnership folks to host a prescribed fire panel discussion online as a webinar. We included Marin Water, State Parks, Marin County Fire, and San Rafael Fire talking about different projects, challenges, opportunities in Marin. It was a really interesting discussion, and hopefully that link to the online recording will be available soon. Staff has also been supporting our GIS program and growing it and streamlining data collection for veg management projects, including unveiling a new GIS tool and platform for project management. So all of the layers that you need to think ahead as you're moving crews along, sensitive species, riparian areas, and other resources to protect, right to enter agreements, etc. And then as you do the work, you can enter those polygons and show those treated areas on your map. And it's kind of a one-stop shop for that. So we've been unveiling that zone by zone, and that's really exciting. A lot of project support and a lot of work in the coastal zone. So Marin Wildfire staff has been out in the field in Inverness, Sea Haven. So especially Ted Briggs, Stephen Peters, and Jacob Dadman out there supporting a shaded fuel break at the northern end of Inverness along the state park boundary. Terwilliger, that property in Muir Beach, hazardous trees that ended up being even more hazardous than we previously thought. Out there with crews removing hazardous trees. We also had a monarch expert out there because there had previously been monarch habitat. And Highway 1 in Muir Beach on the federal property there. So that partnership with NPS, we are retreating that area. We treated it previously winter of 22-23 and are back out there now. Great partnership with NPS and a lot of work to get the Caltrans permit, et cetera. A lot of coordination with Caltrans. That work is underway right now. And then especially we do a lot to support the larger shaded fuel breaks, especially Greater Ross Valley shaded fuel break. So out there supporting crews and supporting some broom pulling during the winter. There's a lot of planning going on for next year. So where next year's implementation will take place, and we need to think through where the botanical surveys, cultural resources surveys, geological surveys, et cetera, need to happen and get all that scheduled. So a lot going on there. Especially Ross Valley Shaded Fuel Break and a lot of work with all those partners within that zone, thinking through where to do the work, where fire pathways overlap the project area, how to sequence that and how to prioritize that, and then getting all of that right to enter in place. That project, for example, overlaps about 2,000 parcels. So it's a lot of knocking on doors and talking to neighbors. We've also been developing additional resources for project managers who are managing vegetation management projects. So we have a shared drive that we share with staff from all the member agencies to help support this work. So kind of protocols on cultural resources, protocols on riparian areas and birds, et cetera. So we just placed some new materials in there yesterday, and I'll be reaching out to various member agencies to make sure they're aware of, what's in there, just review all the materials. I think there are some really especially useful things, especially with some new CEQA updates. Coordinating with the Coastal Commission and the tribe, Federated Indians of Great Rancheria. So a lot of coordination going on there for our work in coastal Marin, especially the Public Works Plan document that you all are at least a little bit aware of. This is a way of complying with the Coastal Act and Coastal Marin. So we'll be talking with the tribe and talking through how they'd like to coordinate in the future. The Chipper program, that has wound down, and an annual report will be coming out in time for the February board meeting. And then a lot of planning for next season. CWPP, we've been working extensively with our contractors and member agencies, hosting a lot of meetings, assigning homework to member agency staff. So apologies for that, but we really want your input. So I think we've had 5 stakeholder meetings and have sent out, even just recently, additional opportunities to provide input. And we've got some office hours for folks who want to interact with the consultants and ask questions. You'll be hearing more on the CWPP later on in this agenda. We're also working with legal counsel and Marin County Parks and Open Space on maintenance agreements. So a lot of the maintenance for our vegetation management projects that have overlapped Marin County Parks lands has been, kind of verbal, let's coordinate, let's think through, generally where we want to maintain and how often and what kinds of activities we want to do. And we'll be trying to formalize that relationship and who's going to pay for what. There are Measure C funds, Measure A funds, how frequently we want to maintain different areas. So we'll be working with legal counsel and Marin County Parks on thinking that through. Currently, we're just working on a template for that, and we'll think about the process and what that should look like. let's see. Additionally, we've got a ton of grants going out to residents to do defensible space, zone zero, home hardening activities. And in the coastal zone, because that takes additional coordination with the county, we're still distributing some of the direct assistance dollars from the previous fiscal year. We've had biologists go out and check out different properties. So we actually have a few direct assistance projects going on in Inverness over the next couple of weeks. We want to do that work before the start of the northern spotted owl nesting season to avoid that kind of regulatory window of additional restrictions on activities. That starts February 1st. The inspection season for the Defensible Space Alliance, that's in the planning stages and hiring stages for next season. So lots of work going on there. Lots of contracting, task orders under the existing master services agreements for vegetation management. That's going on. And then we've got staff working on the Zone Zero in a Box program, a lot of planning and brainstorming and consultation with legal counsel on that. And then I also want to highlight the field trips. So we just held a field trip in January, and I'm going to show you a couple photos there. And then we have more field trips that we'd like to get going. One in Novato, and another in Santa Fe, and another in Southern Marin. So we're hoping to get those scheduled in the spring and summer. And then we just hosted on Friday a field trip in the Inverness Sea Haven neighborhood. And this was a really unique opportunity to reach out to, especially the neighbors in that area that live near this project. We reached out to Inverness folks first and then found that the spaces really filled up. We asked for RSVPs because of limited parking. And we got so much response that we had to close the link to RSVPs pretty quickly. So we'll definitely be hosting more field trips out there in the future. We got good attendance, really enthusiastic neighbors. They're so happy to see work going on in this area. It's really exciting. This particular shaded field break is along the northern end of Inverness, along that state park boundary. So State Parks was there with us because they've given us permission to work across the boundary here and there as needed. This is part of the Coastal Fuel Reduction Network, we were able to move on this quickly last year because of the governor's emergency proclamation on wildfire. And that streamlines but does not get rid of the environmental compliance process. So through that process, we coordinated with the Coastal Commission and California Natural Resources Agency, Cal EPA, Department of Fish and Wildlife, water boards, et cetera, to get approval for a number of different polygons. So these shaded fuel breaks combined with the evacuation route, vegetation management, the defensible space and home hardening, the direct assistance that we're doing in this neighborhood as well, really helps kind of with that, really tells the story of that kind of systems approach to wildfire resilience. It's slow going, implementing this work. We've got a biologist engaged through all of it. Sensitive habitat, we're thinking about sensitive species, spotted owl, wood rat nests, etc. So a lot of coordination there, but we were really happy to get people out to the site to show them what we're up to and answer their questions and all that. So Inverness PUD, David Briggs, who's on the line today, did a really great job of talking about this project and why it's needed. And our staff, Ted Briggs and other staff have been out there in the field. Mark was there. We had some board members there and the ESP partnership. So our environmental partners were out there as well. So it was really good to talk about this project together and answer questions. So hoping to do that a lot more. And I'll just leave it there. Happy to take any questions.
Okay, excuse me. Thank you. Any questions about this item from the committee? Hearing none, we'll now take public comment on item number 5.
And sir, there are no hands at this time.
Okay, seeing no more comments, we'll bring this back to the committee for discussion. Seeing none, thank you, Ann, for the report. Moving on to consent calendar. The opportunity for public comment on consent calendar items will occur prior to the committee's discussion of the consent calendar. The committee may approve the entire consent calendar with one action. In the alternative, items on the consent calendar may be removed by any committee or staff member for separate discussion and vote. We'll now take public comment on the consent calendar.
And sir, there are no hands at this time, but staff would like to offer a correction to the minutes.
Okay.
Staff would like to propose that the minutes reflect yourself, Chief Mike Marcucci, as the official representative for the December 11th meeting, rather than Scott Albert as it is currently posted.
Okay. Do any committee members wish to pull an item from the consent calendar?
Yes, Chair Makuchi.
Okay.
I'd like to pull the minutes, and I just need to abstain because I was not there on December 11th.
Okay.
So noted.
We'll entertain. So do we need to make a motion? We're just pulling that item then?
We could pull the item if the committee would like to discuss for any reason, we can. Otherwise, we can pull.
I'll just vote, abstain.
Yeah, we
Okay, I'll
will
do that.
take the vote with an abstention.
Forget that. Yeah.
That's perfect.
No
Okay.
problem. And then just to remind everyone that pursuant to the Brown Act, all votes taken today will be by roll call vote. We do have a quorum present, but with our remote attendees, we do need to go to roll.
And I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Motion to approve.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay, so is that a motion from Eric Drakeson and a second from Chief Roman to approve the minutes with the correction of Chief Marcucci's name instead of Scott Albert, starting with Bolinas,
Yes.
City of Santa Fe,
Yes.
the County of Marin,
Yes.
Inverness,
Yes.
Marin Wood,
Yes.
Novato.
Abstain. I was also not here for that meeting.
Thank you. With an abstention from Novato, Stinson Beach,
Yes.
Town of Fairfax,
I don't know if Heather was there or not. Oh,
we can record your
Okay.
vote as an abstention for this meeting, Kristen.
okay.
Town of Ross,
Abstain because I was not there. Thank you.
and for the town of San Anselmo.
Also abstain. I was not there.
Okay, just one moment. Let's go ahead and total the vote. We have an abstention from David, Krista, Heather, and Sarah. So that's 4. But we have 10 votes. So we have a majority. So it looks like we have 4 abstentions and 6 votes yes to approve the minutes. The motion does carry.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to discussion items, work plan development update and schedule. We'll go back to Ann Krelock to provide a staff report on this.
Great. And I'll share my screen again. This is not too different from what I presented last month, so I'm going to keep it brief. For those in the audience, each year, Marin Wildfire and its member agencies develop a work plan that defines what we're going to tackle and how we're going to spend those taxpayer dollars each fiscal year. It runs July 1 through June 30th, so we try to, or we're obligated to finalize that work plan in May of each year, and that ends with board action. So each December we kick off the process. We have met, this committee has met once so far this season in December, and we will continue meeting more or less monthly through early May ahead of board action in mid-May. We estimate next year's budget using inflation February through February, and we don't get that until March, so we won't have a final kind of budget to work with until mid-March. I think last year was March 12th. We have all sorts of great tools and science available, especially as we're working on the CWPP update to help inform these projects. We've got consultants ready to go to help inform that process. So member agencies, please do reach out if you'd like to think that through a little bit. Generally, what happens is member agency staff and Marin Wildfire staff submit projects and proposals into an online portal, and that's how we track each year what projects are getting proposed. The operations committee makes final decisions about what to recommend to the board of directors, works on kind of final proposals, what makes sense, what doesn't, budget, etc. And then we take that to the board in May. Some of the near-term tasks for this committee include choosing a chair and vice chair, which we could do today. It's on the agenda. Revisiting our strategic guidance, which we'll also do today. And generally, we create ad hoc subcommittees to really dive into some of these topics. So reviewing proposals, reviewing the budget, et cetera. So that's something we can discuss. It doesn't have to happen in these meetings, but the chair and vice chair can work on that. And then what will probably happen next is we'll start exploring the JPA-wide proposals. So those would be things like public education, environmental compliance budget, GIS program, et cetera. So we'll start tackling that in February, and that'll probably last into March as well. So the next meeting will include that on the agenda. Here's an overall schedule that you all will see at each of these meetings. It's just a good record of the timeline and where we are in this timeline. So right now we're in January. And one of the critical things that happens in January is the land management agencies really request that member agency staff by now have coordinated with any project ideas so that those land management agencies can get those projects into their own internal budgeting and work plan documents. So that's really critical. And then next, JPA-wide proposals, and then the zone-specific proposals. We really dive into those in March and April. And then in April, this committee will be finalizing budget, and we'll have draft documents. We'll have proposals in that online portal. I can make those proposals public and viewable to the public, so the public will be able to take a look at all those proposals. And that'll start happening February, March, April. We'll try to finish making edits in April-ish, if possible, so that we don't have last-minute changes to the proposals. But we'll just do our best, and we'll adapt as ideas and concerns and issues get discussed and resolved. And then May 7th is the last operations committee meeting. So that's a key one to attend if you can as an ops committee member. And then May 21st is when the board of directors will consider approval of the work plan and budget. So that's a really critical one. And that's one where the chair or vice chair, it would be great to have their participation in that board of directors meeting. So that's the end of my report. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Ann. Any questions from the committee on this item? Not seeing any. We'll now take public comment.
And so there are no hands at this time.
Okay, seeing no more comments, let's bring it back to the committee for discussion. For discussion if there's any. And I'm not seeing any, so thank you for that. Moving on to the CWPP update, and we're back to Ann again. Nope.
Apologies,
Go to
sir.
Charlotte. All
We
good.
have Charlotte Jourdain for our CWPP update.
Good morning, committee members. My name is Charlotte Jourdain. I'm a consultant for Marin Wildfire. I've been facilitating the process of updating the county-wide, this is in partnership with the Tiburon and Belvedere, the county-wide Marin Community Wildfire Protection Plan. We presented this to you in December. This is a progress report and a little demo of where we're at. So you remember the Community Wildfire Protection Plan is the wildfire risk component of the broader local hazard mitigation plan, and it connects to the cities and towns' general plans under the local safety element. It's a framework to prioritize prevention activities, which helps us support grants requests. It helps enhance interagency collaboration and alignment. We have many stakeholders that have come to the table for this process, and it communicates our priorities in terms of wildfire risk prevention to the public. The proposal is that the fire chief will approve the final CWPP and then bring it to their individual boards or council for adoption probably in the summer of 2026. This is the first time that we do a county-wide CWPP. In the past, it was a Marin County fire for the whole county. So it's a little bit different in terms of board and council's approval this year. This is what we're proposing. Okay, so where we're at. We have done a lot of work getting internal stakeholder engagement and collaborating with your staff and many others across the county through the Advisory and Tech Committee with the addition of the City of Belvedere and Tiburon. As Anne mentioned earlier, we met 5 times to date to provide input, for them to provide input to the consulting team. We've also had lots of small group meetings as needed for answer questions and review needs. Your staff provided a review of the initial fuel model. That was homework number 1. That's, you know, the map of how we think, where we think things are going to burn if the fire comes. They provided feedback on the definition of 7 key priority themes or strategies. You'll hear more about this in a minute, that help organize our prevention activities into 7 categories. They've reviewed the preliminary results of the prioritization exercise. That was homework number 2, which ended in early January. They provided very helpful comments, which we integrated and updated the prioritization results based on that. So we've received written formal feedback from 3 agencies, other provided oral support and comments. And where we're at today is essentially we're kicking off the process during which your staff is reviewing the updated prioritization results after the improvements that they requested or that we all as a group decided were necessary. This went out just late yesterday afternoon, so it's very, very fresh in their inbox. For this second round of review, we're offering multiple opportunities to connect with the consulting team to address any specific or other needs or questions. We have office hours every Monday for the next 3 weeks. We have the opportunity to set one-on-one appointments, schedule small groups or larger group discussions, and we will reconvene the entire group after we've collected all the feedback through the second round of review. So that's on the internal stakeholder. For the public stakeholder, this is what we've been doing so far in terms of engaging the public. Just a reminder, I mentioned this in December, FireSafe Marin was awarded a grant to facilitate public engagement throughout the CWPP process. So we're collaborating with FireSafe Marin on this process. To date, FireSafe Marin has issued 4 newsletter articles that are about specific aspects of the CWPP process. So we did one, I think, on fire winds or, wind scenarios. We did one on environmental services. We did one on defensible space and home hardening, this sort of thing. Bill Tyler is here. He presented to the Firewise leaders. We had sort of an initial kickoff presentation, and then there was updates every month at that Firewise leaders meeting. We're also providing monthly updates to the environmental sound practices and other groups around the county, including, I believe, the realtors and others. We have a monitored email address for any questions. It's on our website. People can reach us. It's on the newsletter articles that go out. The Marin Wildfire webpage is up to date. And then we are asking the agencies to inform their local CRTs through the monthly meetings that they go to. Sorry, I don't know what these other bullet points are there. My mistake. Anyway, so moving on, besides internal and public stakeholder engagements, I want to give you a little bit of a glimpse of what the next CWPP will look like. One key difference between this and the previous plans is that this will be a dynamic plan. This is a heavy GIS exercise, and the idea is to update it every year, so you get a refreshed pictures of your priority every year instead of waiting 4 or 5 years to redraw the whole thing and go back to source. So I mentioned earlier, we received input from staff to establish the following 7 priorities. These are the 7 sort of buckets or categories of activities that we can do around fire prevention. They're aligned with the Marin Wildfire strategic goals. We decided to pick apart goal number 2, which is detection, alert, and evacuation all in one. We thought it'd be easier to treat that separately because they really are different. The idea here is to help different stakeholders who have different missions and different funding sources to be able to target separate categories of fire prevention depending on what their agency is able to contribute to the problem. So just a summary of the prioritization results to date. Mark is going to show you a demo, but this table shows for each of the Marin Wildfire zones across the top, Central Marin, Novato, San Rafael, etc., the number of evacuation zones that are in the top 20% risk priority for that category, for that theme. So the way you read this is right, like the MWPA zone Central Marin has 92 evacuation zones. Of these 92, 26 of them are in the 20th top percentile of risk for vegetation management near communities. Okay, so obviously an evacuation zone can fall in multiple categories. It's not unique, but this is an idea of where you're like. So if you're looking at this going, I wonder where these zones are, ask your staff because they have access to the portal. They should be able to show you where it is and exactly how these risks were calculated, which is what Mark is going to show you now.
And before I get to the show and tell, I wanted to talk about how we landed on the different risk themes a little bit more, and also the resolution. Previous iterations of different CWPPs throughout the state or even in Marin kind of only had one amalgamated risk theme, and you only had one rating, and you didn't really know why that particular area was high risk versus low risk. And then if you tried to bring all of those 7 themes in together, then you start getting into the argument of, or discussion of, how do you weight them? Is alerting more important than vegetation management versus evacuation zones? So rather than having a model tell our very intelligent subject matter experts that we have working for all of our agencies, we wanted to have something that gave them more information to make well-informed decisions. So that's how we landed on breaking it out into the 7 different themes. And then we spent in one of the big group meetings, a considerable amount of discussion of what resolution. The last CWPP, the one that we have that published in 2020, was actually at the parcel level. And there was a lot of concern about issuing the data that was at the parcel level, if that was going to turn neighbor in and against neighbor, if it was going to drive non-renewals of insurance and stuff like that. None of that ever happened, but we also didn't necessarily find that granular of data was helpful in big picture planning. So did we do it by zones? Well, zones are probably too big. Do we do it by neighborhood or community? Well, neighborhood and community is a vague term. What is the definition of a neighborhood and community? And then I forget who it was, but someone said, we already have these evacuation zones. So perhaps evacuation zones would be the right level of granularity for the data. So that's how we landed there. I'm going to take us into the website. Hopefully this is going to work the way it's supposed to. It is currently password protected. And when you come up, you see the overall map. It's defaulted to the vegetation management near community. It's actually a pretty easy system to use right now. And I'm kind of zooming in and I'm letting the map take us wherever we want to go. So I'm going to show you how some of the things I like to do just to help visually inform my decision making. I'll actually just click through the different priorities. And detection, we have some gaps in the data. That's why you see the spots there. But by clicking through, and if I'm focusing on one particular zone, I can see what maybe I should be emphasizing on that zone as opposed to others. And let's say now that we just saw that this zone is high for vegetation management near community, if I click on the zone, now I have a pop-up that comes up over here. And now we can see the rating. So out of the theme priority for vegetation management is a 9 out of 10. So that's really saying, wow, that's probably what we should be working on in this particular zone. And then as we go through, you're going to see more and more data. And then it actually is going to talk about some recommended mitigation actions. But what I really like is if I go down to this spot right here and click on this, I get a table. And again, it'll tell you for this particular zone what our number 1 theme is. And then you start getting into, for veg management, it's a 9 out of 10. For the open space, meaning out away from the structures, it's only a 5 out of 10. Again, we're still filling in the fire detection data. Public alerting is kind of low risk, but wow, roadside clearance is probably a little bit of higher priority than some of the other themes. So this kind of with a quick glance starts telling you in that zone, this is the type of work that we should be doing. We also had this zone isn't a good example for an unintended result that I was going to talk to you about, but I'll pick another zone. For those of us that are on the response side and have to fill out FMAGs and you need demographic and socioeconomic information, right below this, if there were any high-risk facilities, it would start listing them for you. And so I'll pick another zone, and Mike, I think you'll be interested for the ECC aspect of it. And then we can start getting into the recommended mitigation actions. But here's where you can really start digging into this data. Okay, so great. We know it's a 9 out of 10. But why is it a 9 out of 10? And maybe it didn't make a lot of sense to you. Maybe you thought, I really never thought that zone was that high. Or maybe you thought the 5 out of 10 should have been higher. And you're wondering about that. So this is where you have the opportunity to go down into the table and get into the specific parameters of that. And so this is where we've been working with the feedback from our member agencies where they go, hey, some of these zones don't quite line up with this. And then we've been able to dig in and find out why. And we've made some adjustments to the tool based on some of the feedback that we've had. But other times where, I mean, there was one zone where I thought it really underrepresented the risk. And I was questioning why it underrepresented the risk. And then when we got in there, it was because of the structure count that was in that area, that particular area, not this zone that we're looking at, but a previous zone. There just wasn't the structure density to drive up that risk. And so that's what, by having this table though, it allows me to say, well, you know what, I'm not terribly concerned about structure density. I still think it's a high risk based on the other data that's in this table. I'm still going to choose to do the work. So again, rather than have this model just completely drive what our work is, it's giving you some insights, and then you can dig into the details and really start tailoring your work for that. And then this table that I'm showing you, it's the same table whether we were selected for vegetation management within a community or if it was a table for alert and warning. You just scroll through it and you get to all of them. And then if I scroll back up to the top, I'll get to the X that's right here, and it allows me to get back to the map where I'll zoom out and I can move around the county. Oh, sure. We can also, let's say I'm working in Central Marin. I can turn off the filters for the other zones and just have the Central Marin work that's in there and just really focus on where I'm trying to work and not have the distractions of the other areas. And one more filter. Let's say, and now you're working in Central Marin and you're going, you know what? I really only want to know of the areas that are in the 80th or above percentile for that particular theme. And so now I can scroll through the different categories and really focus on where my high priority areas are. So we really do think this tool is going to be super useful in not just scoping the work, but actually really going into the highest priorities and being effective and strategic with our work. And I'm going to go back to the slide presentation and pass it back to Charlotte.
Okay, thank you, Mark. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of an overview. Again, your staff has access to this portal, has been digging through it. They're starting the second round of review of all these results. We do not plan on making this particular portal publicly accessible. Instead, we will integrate these maps into a story map tool that's much better equipped at walking the public through what all this means and also provide accessibility and translation needs. So that's the plan. What the 2026 CWPP is not, it is not a mitigation activity tracker. Marin Wildfire has adopted strategic measures that track our progress towards our goals. These dashboards are online. We have 2 up. 1 is coming very shortly, and 1 is still needs pending adoption by the board. They will be integrated in that public story map. So we're showing on one hand the risk of that the CWPP shows, but on the other hand, we're also showing progress we've made so far in addressing these risks. We want the 2 to go together. The CWPP is not a detailed program design tool, so it's not where it informs, but it is not the tool to use to design the exact footprint of a vegetation management project. That's something that needs to be done with, in partnership with other elements. Rather, the CWPP is under each category of mitigation activity, a list of priority areas with associated recommendation. That's the key explanation here. So our next steps, like I said, our internal stakeholders are asked to continue to review the prioritization results and the associated recommendation and bring all questions or comments to the consulting team within the next 3 weeks. We've set the deadline to February 13 for the second round of review. And again, many opportunities to connect with us. I just mentioned the progress dashboards. The links are here. I can make this presentation available. And then I'll let Mark speak about the next steps for public engagement.
And that's where we've been working with, we had a proposal that we brought to the fire chiefs. We actually had more visits than the fire chief said, why don't you pare it down? After talking with staff and the ATC, it felt like that perhaps that was even still too many meetings. So we're still working with the fire chiefs to find what is going to be the most effective community rollout and get to the most number of community members. And also, I'm going to steal Bill Tyler as we're great at preaching to the choir. We got to find a way to expand the choir. So perhaps this is a way to expand the choir and get people who haven't been previously interested in wildfire mitigations and prevention. And a great recommendation that we received from multiple member agencies was, hey, May is Wildfire Preparedness Month. Well, we make it in May because we were looking at February and March. So the good news is May is only a couple months away, but it still gives us more time to plan for it than it had that been in February and March. And if we can have one quick go back, I do want to talk about where Charlotte talked about what this is not, and that is not a tool that tells you how to do a project. There are actually tools that are out there that you punch in information and it'll literally give you a shape file that says, this is what you should be doing and why you should be doing it and how you should be doing it. And quite frankly, the tools that we've seen, our member agencies and their staff just really have not liked them. And they would rather have that the information available to guide and for them to apply their subject matter expertise to the projects that they should be implementing in their zones. And I'm going to stop the screen share and take any questions from you guys.
Thank you, Mark and Charlotte. I do have a question, but I'll open it up to any questions from the committee first. Krista.
Thank you very much for the presentation. It's really impressive. What are there other counties that are using this type of a tool in the state?
No, that's a great question. Thank you. So this product is essentially what we did is we've taken different risk assessments that we've built in the last 5 years from the WPA and combined them on a single GIS platform. So it's custom made in the sense that it's not a publicly available tool. This is something that was built for us, but it wasn't reinventing the wheel. It's just patching different risk assessments that we've done in the past, including the evacuation egress risk assessment, the way we assess risk for defensible space and home inspection inspectors to target their inspections. We've taken it all together into one platform.
Okay.
Although other counties are going to the dynamic portion of it. And so we borrowed RFPs from other agencies that we were doing the dynamic risk or CWPP, but then we put our own flavor to it after that.
Okay. Thank you.
I do think, though, to tag on to that, I think you're going to see a lot of counties waiting for Marin to finish this, and I think you're going to see a lot of other counties jump on the bandwagon. At least that's what we've been understanding. The question I have for Mark is it fair to say in the dashboard that is the the themes is what I'll call them, I think is what they were called in there. That is really one overarching theme that's broken down. So for grant work and things down the road, do the grant givers going to look at the whole thing holistically, or are they going to we actually be able to break down and say we're focusing on this piece for this grant? Is that fair to say?
Yes, very much,
Okay.
very fair to say.
Okay. Thank you. I don't see any other questions from, oh, Chief Roman.
Just on the risk assessment, I don't see anything about reduction in ignition as part of the overall priorities on there. And I was wondering if there's an opportunity to either put that in there or as a subset of one of those priority areas to include that in there, because I do think that's a priority area.
So reducing ignitions would be considered a treatment. It's an action we can take to prevent different risk. That's how we're conceptualizing it.
Say that one more time.
Reducing ignition is a treatment. It's an action we take to reduce risk. So it's essentially what you would do as a result of seeing a high risk, very flammable area.
We are
If that makes
also-
sense.
But to help, I think I know where you're going with this. Within the veg management or the fire behavior, the 3 different fire behavior ones, ignition data is, we are working to find the right way for the ignition data to be in there. And then if we find there is ignition histories in a particular area, that's when the treatment of ignition reduction
Correct.
comes in.
That's what I'm trying to get at. And while there's no, I mean, obviously there's PG&E high power lines and stuff like that, but I'm also talking about the human behavior of our community that potentially would light a fire somewhere.
And so we have been exploring different ignition data and the resolution of that data. The first round of ignition data was far too coarse and was not going to meet our needs. We had a robust conversation about using existing ignition data here in the county of Marin. Unfortunately, we have not done a good job of ignition data in Marin. We found another data source that had some decent ignition data, but quite frankly, I think it favored federal reporting systems. And the reason why I say that is that we started getting incidents that were actually campfires on the coast that NPS rangers went out and put out, and that was popping up as an ignition, but fires that we knew that had occurred were not popping up. So we're trying to find that balance of what granularity of the data is good enough, because we don't want to put bad data in there and have it drive us the wrong way, if you know what I mean. So we did just send out a questionnaire and a link to the new data set to our member agencies to see if we can start, like in same thing we've been doing with everything else, it's overlaying stuff. If we can start getting data and have them overlay, then maybe we'll start getting better data out of it.
Okay, anything that we could do to put that as a priority for the city of San Rafael we would value that.
Yes,
that
for sure.
And if it was even documented as far as the within the CWPP, that would be ideal.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the committee? Seeing none, we'll take it to public comment.
And sir, there are no hands at this time.
Okay, we can bring it back to the committee for any additional discussion. Seeing none. Thank you, Charlotte and Mark. Moving on to action items, chair, vice chair election. And we'll go to planning and program manager Ann Krelock to provide the staff report on this.
Great, thank you. Each January, we generally choose a chair and vice chair of this committee. And so that's something that we can discuss today. We can continue with the current structure where we have a chair and vice chair. Our vice chair is Todd Cusimano. Or we could nominate others to participate. Given that we have a quorum, but not everybody is here, this is also something we could table until next month if desired.
And I would suggest we table this item until you have larger number of attendants, given the large number of absences and alternates.
Yeah, I would agree to that. I can sub in for Chief Weber, and I think Todd would be able to hopefully stay as the vice chair, and then we can figure this out at the next meeting, so we'll just table it.
Okay,
So
that sounds good.
for that, any other questions or comments from the committee? And then any public comment on the item?
I see no hands at this time, sir, and I
None.
do not believe this item needs a motion.
Okay.
Great.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to strategic guidance for development of the 26-27 work plan. And we'll go back to Ann for the staff report.
Great. I think I'll just share my slides here. So each year, the Operations Committee provides guidance for member agency staff to help frame the development of the next work plan. We started doing this several years ago, and we've added to the strategic guidance a little bit each year. Last month, we discussed this briefly and kind of reviewed where we were. There is a staff report attached to this agenda for those at home and for committee members to review. Last month, we reviewed what we have so far, and then we also talked about a work plan kind of strategizing session that we held back in the fall for this committee. And this committee asked staff to go back and review those notes and see if there were any kind of nuggets from that conversation that should be considered here. I think most of those conversations at the strategic planning session in September were really geared more towards kind of operation of the organization and the structure of the JPA. So I'm not sure they're really relevant to this conversation and the strategic guidance. So my recommendation is to, continue thinking through all those big picture questions, but maybe not necessarily place them in the strategic guidance here for work plan proposals. But feel free to disagree or provide other suggestions. So right now we're looking at continuing the house out approach, emphasizing home hardening and defensible space. So continue to reduce wildfire risk to communities by providing resources directly to residents for home hardening and defensible space activities. Shaded fuel breaks, prioritize shaded fuel breaks directly adjacent to communities and explore the potential for strategically placed landscape area treatments or splats informed by pathways modeling. Prescribed fire, expand the use of prescribed fire and public education and involvement around beneficial fire. Evacuations, continue to prioritize evacuation planning and projects to improve safe and efficient evacuations. Insurance, partner with insurance companies and the Insurance Institute for Business and Home Safety, or IBHS, to help avoid insurance cancellations and control costs for homeowners. And public education, increase public education, particularly to new audiences, support activities that fire agencies and Marin residents can take, such as home hardening and defensible space, particularly Zone 0, safe evacuations, and reducing human-caused ignitions. And it was proposed that we drop the last item, which was really specific to activities going on last year around mapping updates with the state. So that's where we are now. This group can suggest additional changes. Or we could leave it as is. We could take a vote today. And if you want to have additional discussions, we don't have to take a vote today. We could discuss, and then I could make some revisions and come back to you next month if that's desired. But whatever we come up with will get conveyed to staff through our advisory technical committee, and they'll use that to consider, options for next fiscal year.
Okay,
That's
thank
it.
you, Ann. We'll now take questions on this item from the committee. Seeing none, we can open it up to public comment.
There are no hands at this time, sir.
Seeing no comments, we'll bring it back for discussion. I would say that we maybe table this for a more robust attendance in the next meeting to provide some additional input. Unless there's any objection from the committee that's here, I think that's worthwhile to engage a couple more members of the committee.
Mm-hmm. That's fine. Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. Thank you. Committee reports, advisory technical committee. Do we have a representative from ATC to provide a report?
Martino, do we have Fred Hilliard or Todd Lando online?
Just a moment. We do not have Chief Hilliard or Lando on the line.
Okay, so I'll just report out for the ATC. The Advisory Technical Committee, or ATC, is a working group rather than a Brown Act committee. This allows for great collaboration both within those meetings and outside of those meetings. We can share documents, drafts of documents, and resources with each other and really collaborate and brainstorm at the JPA level. So this group met a couple of weeks ago, and we we combined that with a CWP update meeting as well. So the first hour was the ATC, and the second hour, we invited all sorts of stakeholders to join us for CWPP discussion. So we packed a lot into that first hour, and we reviewed kind of the process and timeline. We had previously provided updates on how implementation of the current work plan was going. And then we also dove into a couple of different topics, and we'll continue using that forum to dive into certain topics. We talked a little bit about cultural resources and some of the regulatory environment requirements around that. We'll dive into that in a future meeting also. Changes to CEQA, environmental compliance, and some opportunities that are coming out of these recent edits. And then we also talked about riparian resources and other things. So we're able to dive into some of those topics that are relevant for project managers, especially. And then next month, we're going to dive more into JPA-wide proposals. So grants program, CHIPR program, environmental compliance, and other things that affect the core budget and will really help frame that budget process for member agencies who are trying to work out what their core proposals are going to be. And that's the end of my report.
Okay, thank you. We'll move it to the committee for any questions. Seeing none, we'll open up to public comment.
And there are no hands at this time.
Okay, we'll bring it back to the committee for any discussion, and not seeing any. Thank you, Ann, for that report. We'll move on to committee members' requests regarding future agenda items. Do any of the committee members, either present or online, have requests for future agenda items?
I don't know if it's a request for a future agenda, but last year we had discussed potentially the allowability of core funds to be used for fire road maintenance, and it was decided that was more of a policy issue to be taken up with the Board of Governors. So I'm just would love an update on where that conversation stands with the board.
I don't have any updates in terms of changes, and I can check in with Mark and we can maybe schedule a conversation within this committee on that topic.
Yeah, I know we had a pretty lengthy conversation about it last year, and again, it was kind of left open in that it really, kind of came down to a policy discussion, and policy is formed by the board. So just wondering if it ever made it up that far.
Yeah, that makes sense. We can have that conversation with legal counsel also, because I know that's a big consideration when working on fire roads and the board. So I'll work on that.
Do we have to have a formal recommendation so we take to the board and legal? Okay.
Thank you both. Krista.
Thank you very much. And I agree with that. I think I'm interested in the answer to that question too about fire road maintenance. This is more of a comment, not really a future agenda item. I wasn't sure where I could bring this up on the agenda, but we have a new wildfire prevention coordinator with the Ross Valley Fire Department, and she's met with us in our little town of Ross to kind of talk about what are the best ways to be utilizing our local funds. We don't get a lot, but it's important to us, and some of our problem areas are, cross jurisdictional boundaries with our other member agencies. So I'm excited to hear, Anne, you commented on some of the resources available in that effort. And also this tool is really exciting. So I've asked our Chief Mahoney of the Ross Valley Fire Department if he could get start off with our 4 member agencies, and maybe we could do a walkthrough to really look at how are we spending those local funds, how are we getting our biggest bang for our buck, and super exciting. So just thanks to all, and just another great example of how this is the work that this organization does is so meaningful. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I actually have an email half written to her to reach out and just touch base and see what we can do to support and set her up for success.
Okay. Any other requests from the committee, either online or in person? Okay. Not seeing any. We'll now adjourn the meeting, and we will see you at the next Operations Committee meeting on February 12th, 2026.
Great. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.